Hey everyone, welcome to our Valentine's Day episode. This is your co-host Alicia Harrison. In this episode, Johans and I are interviewed by our dear friend and host of the Creator to Creator podcast and YouTube show, Candis Francis. Candis asks us intimate questions on how we've been able to make love and money work over the past 10 years of our relationship and how those same principles apply to our business. We dig deep on what a money date is, the importance of values, and how to keep it sexy. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Peace, love, and namaste.
All right. Hello, beautifuls.
Hey.
This is big friend energy right now. Big friend energy. And we're talking about money. You know, I don't think a lot of friends talk about money together a lot. It's not really like a thing, right? But, you know, in our friend group, you know, there's a little bit of that going on because we all want the best for each other. We're looking to pump each other up. We're like, oh, you want to start your own business? Go for it. How can I help you do that? Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So we have Alicia and Johans Harrison, my friends for, let's just say 5 years because we're only 25, right?
Again, I am 25 again. I keep having 25-year anniversaries.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to take a second for you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit. And, you know, I wrote down some questions, but I really wanted to give you guys an opportunity to explain sort of the impetus of both of your journeys and how, you know, you guys came together as a couple, and, you know, like what your backgrounds are.
Oh, that was the go? Okay. Well, ladies first.
Okay, well, Yo and I actually were introduced by a mutual friend, Sadia, which you know, dear friend of ours. She came to me and just knew that we needed to meet each other, and she made the introduction. Initially, I was like, I don't know. I was, you know, trying to figure out my way. I was young, trying to find my way in my career and learn more about myself and what I wanted. But simultaneously, we built a friendship, and over time, I realized that he was the one.
As I wore her down.
As he wore me down, took me out to eat.
Dinner after dinner.
Just reminded me that I had to eat, and why not join him if I
So, hey, you eating tonight?
Regular credit score updates and
Good food, right?
So yeah, that's kind of how it started, and ended up with hearts in my eyes. We got engaged, and now this year we're going into our 10th year of marriage, which has been a phenomenal journey, many ups and downs, and especially when it comes to money, we've had to learn a lot in our own households, and I really feel like that created a solid foundation for us to launch our company, The Money Script, and so yeah, it's been beautiful. So what's your take on our background?
So I like to share that when it just comes to us creating a business together. And I was just sharing this earlier. I was doing an episode for the Money Script podcast, and we were talking about the leap into entrepreneurism. And I left my career, my corporate job abruptly, and spent about 9 months just trying to figure out what do I want to do, because I've been in the same career for so long. And I was questioning, is this really what I want to do? And I'll never forget the morning I was sitting on the side of the bed, just staring out of the window of our apartment in Long Beach. And Alicia could have asked me this question 10 times, 10 different ways over the past 10 days. But is that day I remembered, she just asked me, what are you afraid of? And in that moment, I couldn't come up with an answer. And she was asking, what am I afraid of when it comes to starting my own business or starting my own firm? And I couldn't come up with an answer. And that day I made the phone call to the gentleman that helped me start my business. And it was kind of all in that moment. After that, it just happened fast. I mean, and when that happened, I didn't know what role Alicia was going to play or where. At the time, we hadn't even come up with the company name Money Script. At that time, it was Harrison Financial Services, because I was just, okay, I got to get back at this. I got to get to it. And then it evolved into, okay, well, I definitely want to bring in a lot of the qualities that you have when it comes to marketing, when it comes to running a business, because what I'm really good at is helping people figure out what to do with their money. I'm not the best at managing employees. That's actually what got me burnt out when I was in corporate America, was managing employees and everything that comes with that. And I just want to focus on working with clients. I'm going to need help in some of these other pieces.
Can I ask, was there any apprehension in sort of joining forces in a business when you're already in a relationship, like kind of that overhanging fear of like, oh, is this going to, be a detriment to our relationship in any way?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would say observing, in corporate America, I'd already made the judgment that we would never work together. And so it wasn't.
I'm not a bad boss,
It wasn't really until that transition time where I feel like we learned that we can work together, that we can really support one another when it comes to being of service and helping people. And we just kind of had to go for it. Yo was at a crossroad where he was ready to expand. He needed help. I was looking to see what the next step for my career was, and I had also just left corporate America. And so it just really kind of made sense as we started to map out the plan for our family and how we wanted to be present to our family and not be tied into corporate positions where we were always away from the home. And so we just really made it happen, did what we needed to do, did the work as far as learning how to establish our business, establish roles, and press forward. And made many sacrifices. I think that's one thing that people may misunderstand when it comes to entrepreneurship. There's a lot of sacrifices. I know in the beginning, as he mentioned, being in our apartment, we had made some financial sacrifices, downsizing and just cutting back so that we could invest into our own business. We had to say no a lot of the times when it came to going out and socializing and really being up to date on things that were going on around us. We just had to focus and cut back and reinvest in ourselves and our business, and that's really what helped us then. It's what's helping us now, continues to reinvest into our business.
I had to say no to the NFL package on DirecTV. That was one of the sacrifices. We were paying $250 a month on average for DirecTV. And then I think that was on average once you included the NFL package in it. And that was one of the expenses that we just had to sit down and say, okay, well, can we get by with just Netflix? And I think this was before Hulu. It was just Netflix. It was like, can we just get by with Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were all kind of making those decisions, like let's let go of these things. I forgot sort of how much those things did cost too, because I was pretty cheap when it came to that stuff anyway. But I'm like, Jesus, $250. I can't even imagine that anymore. And now I'm still like crunching, like, should I get rid of Hulu stars? Which one should I keep? Right. When I love that you kind of pointed out some of the sacrifices that you guys made. And what I loved is that it was evident, but it wasn't like you guys didn't seem like, like we're not gonna skimp on the things that also give us a great life experience as well. You know what I mean? You guys still went out and did things, and so that's why you guys put together that thing, Money Date, that you guys do on your podcast, or was it before the podcast? Just doing money dates like on IG Live and stuff like that.
That was before the podcast. That was again Alicia saying, what are you afraid of? Let's do something. And so, the money dates really came from almost a place of stress.
From our own household, learning
I mean,
from each other.
Going back to my conversation earlier, incredible statistic. On average, the average individual has 165 different payment points of things that are coming out of their bank account, but usually 2 or 3 or less of things coming in. Okay, so then when you put two people together, so now we're looking at 300 to 400 different places where the money may be coming out, but now maybe 2, if each person has a job, 2 sources of income coming in. And so when you try to do things together sometimes, especially if one of those individuals' income goes like this, okay, and
you both were like, nah, let's leave corporate America.
Yeah, that too.
Well, this was during our corporate America journey. As Yo mentioned, his income was up and down. I had the steady income, and when we talk about it, money date stemming from stress, it was just really finding a place where we could sit down and discuss money. Okay, what are we doing? Not what you're doing, what I'm doing. What are we doing? How can we really collaborate and understand each other's intentions, our goals? And that's really how the money date organically blossomed in our own household. And then we were able to incorporate that and share that in our business with our followers and clients and community.
So yeah, it was a necessity. It was like we have to find a place where we can have a common ground.
If we gonna make it.
Yes, that part. That part. And we had to learn what our boundaries were when it comes to. So one thing I like to share is about our joint account. The amount of payments that I make out of the joint account are less than 10 a year. Is that okay? Can I say that?
Yeah.
It's probably less than 10 a year, but I'm consistently putting money in the joint account because that's the account she's using to manage the household. But if you were to rewind to before the money dates, I'd go and swipe the joint account card and she's like,
you're in Las Vegas doing what?
You know? And I was like, I'll just transfer the money. I'll put it back. I got money in this other account. But, it was that account, like Kevin Hart said, where it takes 2 days because you got to check in and savings and you got to change the money over and it takes a couple of days for it to hit. Meanwhile, she's trying to pay bills at home. Right. That, like I said, that was a necessity. It was that. And then, like you said, removing the majority of the income from the equation as well also drove that necessity because then we were just living off of the capital we had. So we had to talk about every single dollar that was coming out and the money that was going in. But what grew out of that was the conversations of goal setting. So when it wasn't, okay, we're finished talking about the bills just for this month or last month, let's talk about what we want to do in 6 months. Let's talk about saving for the house. Let's talk about setting up our daughter's education fund. Let's talk about our life insurance. Let's sit down and do a will and trust. I mean, all of those things came from those intentional those money dates, those intentional times where we said, okay, let's have this focused time. And sometimes it also started with pouring a glass of wine, saying, let's take the edge off a little bit here.
Well, that's why we call it a date. So you're literally having a date with your money. A lot of times talking about money can be intimidating. And so just creating an environment for yourself or for you and your companion, you and your family, you and your children, so that you can get more comfortable of having that conversation at home. It starts at home where we get to educate ourselves and our families. So creating an environment that feels good for you, whether it's wine, champagne, tea, water, whatever it is, and just making it an intentional event to review your money.
Is that still romantic? Do you still feel like, there's also, I guess, parallel to that is, where you're at in your relationship and how romance ebbs and flows, not necessarily losing attraction, but sort of just that like comfortability breeds, you know what I mean? And so, or familiarity, I should say. But within like those moments when you've kind of romanticized money in that way and also even come together to sort of triumph over the things that other people struggle with, does that bring you closer? Does that turn you on? Like, does that make you like, oh shit, it's sexy, like handling the money like that? Like what happens for you guys with that?
Oh yeah. I'll tell you right now, equity is sexy as hell. Knowing that we own the business. I mean, not only do we have the financial planning firm of MoneyScript Wealth Management, we also have the MoneyScript, and Alicia is the president and CEO of the MoneyScript, and that's another company that we're building equity in. The equity in something that is multi-generational. That's sexy. Oh yeah, that is it. Yes. When we sit down and, well, I'll say it turned me on. When we sit down and we talk about, okay, here's what's going on.
Alicia looks so turned on right now. She looks so turned on.
We figure out, okay, here's what we're doing for Christmas. Or the other night when the response I felt was that was a sexy text message when I said, here's the vacations that we're taking this year. the response I got, well, I could hear her saying it. And I was like, oh, that was a sexy voice. She said that in. That was because it was looking at our finances and say, okay, here's what we can do this year, and know that we can plan that trip that's been deferred since COVID began. And we will get to have that time alone. And that was the other part when I said, oh, by the way, this trip is just us. It's our 10-year coming up. This is our 10-year anniversary trip. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're doing, but we're dropping our daughter off somewhere. We're dropping your mama off too, and we are going somewhere else. That was sexy. Yes.
Yeah. Pack light.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think as you mentioned, there's ebbs and flows, because we've had many money dates that have been intense, that have been frustrating, that have been challenging or uncomfortable. But I think the more that you find comfort in having those conversations, you're going to get to the other side of having those sexier conversations, because you're managing your money more efficiently, and you're both showing up for each other in that moment and handling your money, which creates options for you and your family, and you can set goals together and dream together and be excited about what's to come.
I think you guys are the experts on why money is such a major factor in relationships to begin with. Like, you just have that insight, being on both sides of it, because just like a divorce lawyer or any of those things, you guys as wealth managers are in the middle of, people in relationships that are trying to sort of get to the place you guys are at when it comes to the money relationship.
Now, first, let me correct you. We are on the journey. We are students. Okay, so
right.
we and a lot of what we're able, or some of the conversations that I'll say the leg up that we have in the positions that we are because we get to learn from other couples' experiences, because we've been through multiple divorces, we've been through marriages, we've been through clients that are on opposite sides when it comes to money. So we get to bring some of those lessons into our relationship. And because we're in the money business, we wind up talking about money a lot. But even, let's get off the money subject. It really goes back to, and this is where I give Alicia so much credit, because she reminded me how much more important values, having a values conversation, and having values in our company, having values individually. And it wasn't anything that was new to me. It was just the I'll even call it almost excessive practice of it. Because there was a time where I kind of was like, Alicia, okay, we're enough about the values, let's make some money. But she kept going back to values. She got me in the habit of making vision boards. And it wasn't until I started to see things on my vision board show up in real life. I was like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't just talk. This I like this. Let's keep doing it. So those values conversations, I feel, is what help keep us grounded in being a student of it, and being able to then pour that into other people, because we just bring that collective or that collection of information and experiences, and then, like I say, pour it into the next.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's extremely important when it comes to couples and relationships, is really defining your marriage or family values. And so that any decision that you make as a family or as a couple is based on those values. And that's really why we incorporate values into our company itself. We often have conversations about our company values, because we want to make sure that we're showing up in alignment with those values to be of service, not only for our clients, but for our team. And it really stems back to us making sure that we're implementing those into our day-to-day, having those conversations and revisiting our values, so that we can continue to align ourselves with what we truly want. And at the end of the day, if you don't know what you value, how can you really take steps forward in order to accomplish your goals and make progress?
I really, I love watching interviews of like top CEOs, like the one, like, for instance, the other day I was watching Jay Shetty's podcast, and he was speaking to the head of Home Depot. I can't think of his name right now, but whatever. He gave money to Trump.
Yep.
But his whole basis is values. Jeff Bezos values. It's all about caring for the customer as like the top priority. and that comes back to what your values are as a person. Maybe you value family and like those types of things, community in that same sort of breath, which reflects in that way too. So people can take it for whatever it means in their own business. And for you guys particularly, I think it comes down to relationships, back to like what we're talking to. In a relationship, one of the things that I struggle with is maintaining that financial independence. Like where do you draw the line? And when did you guys make that decision to even have a joint account? Is that like to you a marriage step?
Let's see. Maybe.
Like, do you feel like it's like when you get married, like you should be having that, or is that
No, I wouldn't even say that. So I can tell you in practice, because there's theory and then there's what happens in real life. In real life, we have married clients that do not have any joint accounts. Everything is separate. And they've been married a long time, and that's how they've operated, and that's how it will continue to be. We also have clients that are not married, but live together harmoniously and have a joint account. And so the function of the joint account, it really just comes down to access. That's really all it is. Who has access to the money? And if you find yourself in a relationship where someone has some bad habits or a tendency to be irresponsible, then if that person can't cure those habits, then you have to restrict their access. I was almost to that point on the joint account.
I almost got kicked out your own account.
She said to me, she was, I'm going to kick you out the joint account. Now, that would still require me to give her access to some of my paycheck or I have to decide, and that's the other thing, couples have to decide who's going to pay the bills. And that comes back to the money date. Have those conversations to figure out, okay, how do we want to do this? And at the end of the day, if you're deciding to commit to living with someone, sleeping with someone, waking up to them every day, whether or not you decide to get that piece of paper or not, if you sign a lease together, I mean, you might as well be married. You're on a contract for the next 12 months together. If either one of you moves out and the other can't continue to pay the rent, it's going to ruin both of your credits. So you're making that commitment. What's the difference in making the same commitment of having an account together and then deciding how much of your money you will share into that account? Because Alicia still has a separate bank account, probably several accounts. See, there you go, with an S. And so do I. Okay, and we always surprise each other with our amounts that we managed to save that was kind of in the dark. It's like, oh, by the way, I have this, or oh, by the way, I have this. It's like, oh, well, and sometimes it shows up when it's needed. It's like, oh, you do? Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad you. When did
bust
you do
out
that?
The ones?
Exactly. When did you do that? Okay.
Yeah, and I think that goes to say what you were talking about, the independence is just it makes me feel like I do have that financial independence because I have my own accounts and I have my husband's support. It's not a secret or I'm keeping money from him. We're still talking about it. He's still aware and trusts me in being responsible. And at the end of the day, I just know that something my granny always taught me is make sure you have your own money. And so that's something I always do. And we have our joint account where we both contribute and we're able to pay our bills and manage. I manage that account. And it works for us while Yo has his own accounts as well.
So when people are single dating, looking to get into a relationship, how do they prepare themselves to have those money conversations? Even the initial ones of like, how are you with money, period? Not even speaking in terms of like the further conversations.
Yeah, that dope question. You want to take it first, or?
Well, what comes up for me is getting an understanding of where they learned how to manage money or where they learn their money habits, because then you start to learn about their family, generational habits, and then you can kind of segue into learning and understanding some of the things that they're sharing with you and having a better understanding of their relationship with money, and just allowing that to, further the conversation, but just really having an understanding of their family background. And I think that will give you a great perspective on where they're at, whether they take action in spite of how they were raised, or whether they've taken on some of those good or bad habits from their family
Right. Are they
members.
skipping generations on bad habits?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite questions to ask in that alignment is, what's your first memory of money? And that will tell you that will actually tell you a lot about just their thought process, because I believe our brains are like building blocks or like Legos. We continually just add another Lego on top, and no matter what, that original Lego is still down there. You can't. I mean, you may forget it's there, but if you search long enough and deep enough, you'll find that it's still there. So that original relationship that someone began to build with money, and like I said, the habits from their generational habits that they may be carrying with them, can be a good place to have a conversation about money without saying, "Hey, what's your credit score?" You know. But even to be able to ask that question of what's your credit score, I think the most important thing any of us can do is to make sure we are getting our own house in order, so that you can have the confidence to say, even if you don't have a great credit score, have the confidence to say, my credit score is a 685. I was at a 550, and I've been working very hard to build myself back up, and I'm proud of where I've come thus far. How's your credit? Okay.
Right.
And that tells a little bit of a different story versus I got an 800. What do you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you may not have come out of the womb with an 800. Actually, I'm confident you didn't come out with an 800, but some of us, some of us, our parents add us to their credit cards at an early age. And so we kind of do come out of the womb with an 800, because our parent, and that goes back to those first memories of money. Because if you got that credit card early, then someone was instilling in you, hopefully, how to properly manage that. So if you're not in that boat, then absolutely you want to begin with getting your own house in order, or growing your relationship with money. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but do you know what benefits you have through work? Do you know what would happen if something happened to you financially? What would that mean for the rest of your family? Do you know? Do you know what your tax year is going to be like? I mean, you're someone that can't wait till you get the refund, or do you someone that's scared that you're going to owe? I mean, can you answer some of those questions for yourself? And as you are able to do that, it will make it a lot easier to engage in that conversation with the person that's on the other side of the table. No matter how ignorant they may be about finances, you'll be very confident yourself.
Right, right. I mean, that makes me want to ask both of you what your first memories of money are, because I don't think everyone can so easily be self-aware, you know what I mean? And think back, well, what was my first memory of money? Like, what do you mean? Like for me, I'm thinking, making bookmarks and selling them to my family members. You know what I mean? Being enterprising from a young age, what are your guys's?
Well, I think as we've been doing some of the work and asking these questions ourselves, what is our first memory of money? I feel like different memories have come up for me. I know initially one of my first memories of money was I must have gotten money for a birthday or Christmas, and I remember going to the mall with my stepfather and getting into the mall and realizing I had dropped $20. And I think from there, not only did it teach me to take better care of my money, but it instilled a sense of fear of that I could easily lose money as soon as I get it. And that was definitely something that I had to work through. And I know there's another memory of money that I had is I remember saving my money in a plastic Ziploc bag, saving change and money around the house, and giving it to my mother because I had overheard her and my stepfather having an argument about money, and it made me feel, okay, well, how can I help, and wanting to be able to contribute to that. So there were, a few different realms that I remember early on. I would say early as 6 or 7, that I've definitely had to work through and outgrow some of those subconscious feelings when it comes to money. But it's definitely an ongoing for all of us because we're always continuously working to get better, especially when it comes to our money habits and disconnecting ourselves with some of those childhood traumas or experiences that could be getting in the way of what we're trying to accomplish now as adults.
Yeah. That like it just made me start thinking about like, oh my God, like the times when I knew that my mom was, trying to figure it all out too. I mean, my mom's always been in finance, but like I remember a time when I think it was I don't know. It was just a struggle time. I don't know what had happened. And there was like a trip for school, and it was to go skiing. I'm from Canada. So it was to go skiing. And I was telling my mom, like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I couldn't really tell if I didn't want to go for real because I was so worried about helping her that I just made it real in my own mind that I didn't want to go because I didn't want her to have to spend that money. So then she goes, no, I really want you to go, Candis. And I was like, then I brought it up like, oh, Mom, I don't know, it's expensive. And so she was like, no, I really want you to go. So I went the first day just to appease her. And then I remember just being like, oh, I hated it so much. I didn't like it. I really did enjoy myself, but I just told her I hated it so that we didn't have to pay for that second day. It's crazy how we pick up on that somehow. I don't have like the most fleshed out memories. My stuff is more emotion based, the way I remember things, how they made me feel. Back to that again. But yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think that's going to be so helpful to a lot of people.
It's funny you mentioned feelings. For me, a lot of my memories, for some reason, are ingrained in smells when it comes to money.
Yeah, synesthesia.
It's my grandmother. One of my earliest memories is being in my grandmother's house, and she was pulling out these boxes and boxes and boxes of coins.
Wow.
And it was my sister and I. It was our job, I guess, while she was watching her soap operas, to sort and roll the coins. And I just remember how bad my hands would smell, and I felt like no matter how much I washed my hands, that smell would still be on my hands. And so I developed kind of this negative association with the smell of coins. I don't know how that changed my relationship with coins later, but I can tell you, I don't know that I have. Well, I haven't dealt with money in a while or not money. I mean coins, thanks to the pandemic. There was like a coin shortage or something. I was like, yes, death to the coins. But
I mean, I'm fairly averse to cash for some reason. I really love that we have plastic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Alicia loves that we have plastic because she can't lose $20 anymore.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I got to keep up with it.
Oh, and she, boy, let Alicia find some money somewhere.
Like in the laundry? Yeah.
Man.
I win. Thanks for the tip.
Every money that is found, that it was hers at some point. Oh, this was mine. No.
I love, if I ever do get cash, I'm like, I'm going to squirrel this away, as, my grandmother would say. Actually, my dad says it too. He's the dad joke guy. What if it's too late, kind of going back to the other person's relationship with money? What if it's too late and you're just realizing that your partner has these destructive habits? What are some practical ways that you can mitigate that issue to maintain a healthy relationship? I look at what you both do as sort of money therapy in a way. Is that something that people should look for? Is like to have, go to a company like yours to get that sort of mitigation?
Shameless plug,
or
yes.
mediation, I should say.
Yes. Plug.
Yes, and it ties right back to the values conversation. So if you're in a relationship with someone, you should be able to have at least that conversation about the values so that, again, actions are in alignment with the values. And you want to be in a relationship with someone that's going to push you to do better, that's going to support you in growing forward, and that's going to hold you accountable. So if you're having money dates, if you've already made clear with each other what your values are, you get to hold each other accountable to those values. And really being a reflection for your spouse, and not in a nagging or a negative way, but let's talk about this. This is what we've committed to. And then, yes, absolutely, if it's something that you can't come to an agreement together, hiring a third party, an advisor, a coach, a therapist, something that's going to help you open that line of communication so that you can both get on the same page and strive forward towards your goals. Or maybe it's not the right relationship for you.
Or that, and the thing about having the third party, like you said, whether it's an advisory firm, And you want to, if that's what you're trying to get to the bottom of, I encourage you to find a financial advisory firm that specializes in behavioral financial advice, like ours. But I'm not the only one. But you want to
Like
find
ours.
because you want to be able to have those values based conversation and not just make it all about is my stock account going up or down, or buy this life insurance. And there's lots of financial planning firms that's really what they focus on is the product versus the relationship that you have with money and that you have with each other. So whether it's an advisor, a therapist, a coach, you do want to get that outside source because it can be very difficult to, especially when you're dealing with another person, to be subjective and objective when it comes to your money decisions at the same time, because a lot of the stuff that you're going to talk about and end up arguing or bickering about are things that can't be undone. It's the purchase that you've already made. It's the night in Vegas where the money's already been spent. It's gone. Or whatever the bad decision or poor decision that was, it's already happened. Even if it's a car that you paid too much for, well, I mean, you can't really turn it in at this point because you're upside down. So now you just have to live with those decisions and find a way to, again, going back to the values, to come up with some systems you can put in place to help prevent these mistakes from happening again. And you're gonna have to talk a lot about it. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable and having those money conversations.
Well, and I think it goes back to
Systems.
the fact that it's not just about the numbers. And as Johannes was saying, when it comes to choosing an advisor, making sure that you can have more of those value-based conversations with your advisor and having that rapport. And I think that's one thing that makes our company so unique in the marketplace, is that we're not just talking about the numbers, but we're really helping our clients and our community define what the relationship is with money, understanding their values, and so that collectively we can hold each other accountable to those values and making the better decisions when it comes to managing your money.
We're going to clip this out because this could be a commercial for you guys. I'm just saying. I literally wrote down, like, you guys have a unique perspective that, even for money-minded people, you care about the people, you know what I mean? And I wrote it in a different way. I was taking the note because I wanted to let you finish. So how can, this is a big question. I don't know how, maybe you guys want to have a little huddle, talk about it first. No. How can people not fail in a relationship during or after financial hardship?
Not fail. Is it commitment? Are we huddling?
No, I think it really comes down to being willing to keep the conversation going, because money, unfortunately, is a magnifier of other issues, which usually boils down to communication in some way, shape, or form. But money becomes a multiplier, magnifier of whatever that sore spot is. So if there's already a problem with communication, and then you add on to that a miscommunication about money, then it's hard to resolve the money issue because you just can't communicate. Are you with me? So
Yeah, I know. I'm saying money is like a huge trigger, like Alicia with her sort of abandonment issue of money. And so, like, a loss of money in that sense, is going to maybe put her in a state of depression or whatever. How do you help that partner, and how do you get through it?
I think there's the balance, as you said, of supporting your partner, being accountable, but also having clear boundaries when it comes to money, spending, managing your finances. And so I think we all show up into our relationship with certain boundaries, but making sure we're communicating those boundaries, so that if we ever feel like we're to a point where I can't do this, that you've brought to the table the communication. You've clearly put out there what it is that you're expecting, because I think a lot of times it's mishandled expectations or misunderstood expectations of one another. And if those aren't communicated, then yes, you can put yourself in your relationship in a compromising position. If you're thinking one thing, your partner's thinking another, you're not on the same page. And just again, I'm going to keep reiterating, going back to those values. You know, you show up to a relationship with your own personal values, and if your partner isn't matching up, isn't lining up, isn't stepping up to those values, then that's something that you have to decide for yourself. If it's something you're willing to compromise on, and if it's a boundary you're willing to let someone continuously step on, and break those boundaries, because that's where it starts to get a little messy and rocky, and I guess that's all I'm saying for that.
but to answer the second half of your question, how do you come back from it? It's what Alicia was saying. It's you got to be willing to communicate about those values, and say, this is what I will stand for. This is what I will not stand for. You know, either you're okay with that, or you're not. And if you're not, that's okay too. You have to be willing to stand in your values, stand in your boundaries, and hopefully continue to have a conversation so that your values and boundaries can grow together. But if you find out that they can't, I mean, if you're dealing with someone that's just dishonest when it comes to money, if you can't get to a point where they're willing to openly communicate, then it's going to be very hard to not keep tripping over that same stone over and over and over again. And I know couples like that where, because of the lack of honesty, and it's just really sometimes comes from shame. It's not like they're out spending money on anything bad. Not like they're out spending. I'm taking like a drug habit out of it, but maybe it's just a partying habit, or maybe it's just a going to Starbucks too much habit. And if that person, and let's say it's one of those joint accounts, if you can't trust that person to not go to Starbucks and use the joint account, then stop using the joint account. Just say, okay, we can't use a joint account anymore. I still need you to contribute X amount to pay your portion of the bills, and what you do with the rest of your money, if you want to spend it all on Starbucks, go right ahead. But I'll make sure that the mortgage gets paid because you're going to give me X amount per month. I'll make sure that the car notes get paid because you give me this amount per month. If you want to trick off the rest of Starbucks, go right ahead. Okay, but to keep setting yourself up for that same failure, and that's what it was for me. I had to change my habits of using the joint account.
And telling me I'll just add some money in there later when I've already done the work to manage the account, to put together the budget, but we weren't communicating about it. Oh.
Are we reliving this right now?
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
I already rolled the bus over myself.
There may be someone out there who's listening who's been in the same predicament, so I got to bring it back.
So you had to show that you are comfortable setting that boundary in front of other people? I see.
I will kick you out the account.
I was just waiting to see if it was going to go to blows. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have been high ratings for me. I was going to get 14.
I mean, mind you, what we're talking about, this particular incident or period in our relationship was, 8 years ago, 9 years ago? So,
but no, it reared its head just a few weeks ago. Just a few weeks ago, I verbally said, hey, I'm going to use the joint account for this, this, and this. And a few days later, what happened to the money in joint account? I was like, we talked about this. No, you said, and it's possible that I thought I said I was going to buy 3 things and then bought 4. That is a possibility. And I had to check myself and say, okay, I need to go back to not use a joint account. Or what I'm more likely to do now, if there's, for instance, in Amazon, in our Amazon account, the joint account is attached to it. Okay. So what I've gotten in the habit of doing, she hates it, but it keeps me out of the joint account. I'll just put things in the cart. Because she's the one that does the groceries, and so I'm like, okay, well, I need this, so I'm just going to put it in the cart. And what may happen is she may kick it out of the cart. Like, I'm
save
not
it for later.
Save for later.
And then I'm asking,
really
hey, babe, I put that in the joint account. She's like, we got to spend the joint account on that. And then it becomes a conversation. It's like, and sometimes there's been a time or two where I was like, okay, fine, I can add another card, and I'll just do it with my card. And she's like, yes, because I have enough money in the joint account for this. So it, like I said, it's not something that we cross the finish line and we don't ever have to come back and revisit again. No, it comes up. That's why I said I use the joint account about 10 times a year, and I'm already at 4, and it's January. So
about to get cut off.
Well, besides coming together the way that you guys do when it comes to business and money. What have you found as the big secret to a long-lasting relationship, a successful relationship?
I think the first thing that comes up for me is personal development, and being on a journey with your partner of personal development, because it gives you a common language, it gives you a common understanding of one another when it comes to goal setting, when it comes to challenges. It gives you something to reference, and can really create a better communication with one another. I think for some that could also stem back to spirituality or religion, but just having something that that unites you guys together outside of yourself, that will help to create a support and resource for you when things do get challenging. That does help to create a common, again, language when it comes to communicating your needs to one another, and having uncomfortable conversations when you may have to confront your partner about something that's challenging or something that may not feel good to talk about, and just being willing and open to receive feedback from your partner, and not necessarily taking it personal, because we've also have done that as well.
Also spread dollar bills all over the bed and put on some sexy lingeries and I'm just gonna
Exactly.
That's what we should do with the
like,
dollar
what was you
bills.
doing in Vegas? What do I need to do? Okay.
Actually, we did. I think we've done that fantasy already, didn't we? We kind of did.
I mean, come on, it's so apropos. Come on.
I don't know about the dollar bills, but
She's like, they were hundreds. Excuse me.
in Vegas,
I remember in Vegas having.
you want a little money.
I had a little money, and I remember making it all cash, and I had you do some things.
For some change. Some change.
Some change. And I do it. And actually, no, I remember. And you said for ones. I was like, but there's like 200 of them. Like, no. It's like, what? I mean,
Standards.
Man, she made me pull out the other bills. I was like, oh. I was like, it's not as fun. She was like, it's fun to me. Oh, okay. Let's do everything you want to do. So I also, to add on to that,
Your secret. What's your secret?
laughter. I find that we still find ways to crack each other up. I mean, as you can see right now, and I think that laughter gives us a little space to look back at some of the transgressions over the years and some of the mistakes, and be able to laugh at them a little bit, and also embrace the happiness and laughter that we create for each other in the future, in the present and in the future as well. And I think that laughter just makes things, like I said, a little bit more forgiving. It makes the pills a little bit easier to swallow. And the second thing I will say is, going back to on Alicia, what she mentioned, personal development. It's additionally the being willing to ask for help outside of us. We've not only have we had therapists, we've had life coaches, we've had business coaches, and we've been in those sessions together. And so, and all of those coaches and therapists, at some point in that relationship, somewhere in the conversations, they said, okay, so what's the truth? And forced us each to dig a little bit deeper to verbalize what our truth is, or truths are. And then for us to be able to continue that conversation and do the work. They would always give us homework. They're always, okay, this is what I need you to work on. This is what you need to do. This is what you get to do. Also having the individual conversations. Okay, this is what you get to work on. So having that constant dose, if you want to call it an adrenaline shot, of having that outside source to help us communicate.
And I'm going to make this a 4-for-1 and just say your village, right? It's like all of us having each other. Like Alicia, you are literally my soul sis, and Yo has become like a brother to me. You know, we each have our different relationships, the things that we can talk about or whatever. Like Yo's into like production like me, and you know, Alicia and I connect on, I mean, every level. And then you're my son's godmother, and I couldn't have chosen anyone better. You're definitely, you honor that, you know, at every turn. So thank you so much to both of you. I'm going to pretend to end this now. And thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Like I've been wanting to do this, and I just was like, what do we talk about? How do we make the best out of this? Because I know you guys have so much to offer, and you never let me down, and you definitely didn't this time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Back in the studio.
Oh yeah, shameless plugs.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Please. Yeah.
At the Money Script. Twitter at the Money Script. Podcast, the Money Script Podcast. What did I leave out?
Our website, moneyscriptwealth.com.
Oh yes, there is a website, moneyscriptwealth.com.
Yep, you got some PDFs in that join, and some. What are the services like that you guys have going on right now?
So of course, for financial planning. So for individuals looking to do better with their money, they want to come to a resource to talk about their behaviors, their values, their goals, and how those all meld together. We'd love to help you there. We have also launched a few different financial literacy campaigns. Of course, the podcast is a part of that. We are offering a book scholarship to HBCU students. As I mentioned earlier, college costs are going up astronomically. So if you'd like to get a little help with buying some books, go to our Instagram. There's a fun little quiz that we're doing there, so that you can find an opportunity to win. And we provide those same financial literacy courses for groups, for organizations, anybody that wants to start having higher level conversations around financial literacy. We are a one-stop shop for that. And
we also have our ebook, The Money Date. So if you want to have something in writing to do some of the work that we've been talking about when it comes to a money date, you can go to our website, purchase the ebook, and you can print copies for you and your spouse and get to work.
Spouse, significant other, friend. I mean, that's the other thing. You can have a money date with anybody. I mean, the same way you come together as girlfriends, homies, lover friends, whatever it is, a person that you trust, that you spend time with, you can have a money date with them, even if you're two single individuals. And I've got a couple of clients like that right now where they're both single. Neither of them have children or spouses, and they hold each other accountable to their money goals. And so when I talk to one, like, oh, well, I was talking to so and so, and we decided that this month we're not going to go to Starbucks. I'm like, good for you. And Starbucks isn't a bad place.
He loves Starbucks.
I love Starbucks. So Starbucks was a joint account problem for me. There was a time when, oh boy, I was an everyday Starbucks guy, like every day. So yeah, you got
to do like a whole big like a group call of this, because we got to talk about friends and money, and just like, you know, when we can tell our friends are overextending themselves, or like going to brunch together, like, hey, I can't afford the whole meal, or whatever point you're at in your life, the fact that you have friends that you can, you know, have those conversations with, how do you have them? You know what I mean? Maybe it's one that we can all do on yours, whatever, you know what I mean? But I think that's such an important topic, you know, helping our friends out with their money goals too.
Absolutely. Because we're all looking for financial independence. We all are. We want to not have to depend on a government or somebody else in order to live our lives. And in that financial independence, we want to do it with our friends. Right. And so if
you want to surround yourself with the people that have the same values.
Exactly. But if you don't start having those conversations early along with friends, you will start to have friends that can't keep up because of their poor habits. And sometimes, they're the ones that was overextending. They're the ones like, oh, drinks on me, drinks on me, drinks on me. I had some of those people as clients, and I would say to them flat out, I was like, drinks can't be on you anymore, because you just told me that you value having a home that you don't rent. You want to save for a home. Well, if you want to save for a home, you got to stop buying drinks every Friday night for everybody.
Got to eat the dollar pizza, like Gary Vee says.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to do that. But at the same time, the conversation it's not don't go out. It's, okay, go to the $2 night.
Taco Tuesdays.
Exactly. Go to Taco Tuesdays. And if you want to give to your friends, say, all right, look, guys, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to buy the basket of whatever. I'm going to get the guacamole and the chips and first round. And then my card is cut off. I said, nobody's going to come to you and say, oh, your card's cut off? Oh, please, can you buy me one more drink? No one's going to beg you to buy them another drink. You buy them the first round, and now I've taken their dining out bill from $200 on a Friday night down to $80. Now that's $120 that they can put towards whatever financial goal that is. So, but like you said, yes, we should have a kind of a more group conversation on just
maybe on Ria's. She does those group ones.
Put us all on the couch.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Connection.
That's our next. Wait, is that today too?
No.
Oh, we're in podcast heaven right now. I just did one this morning. Now we're on yours, and we got another one coming up.
People reach out to you to do yours, right?
Yes, it's
like, to be on it.
It's final. That is finally starting to happen. Yes,
that's been happening to me too. So I'm already I have several episodes already kind of banked in now. I just have to edit and then also keep doing, singular ones. So I'm just gonna say we're just gonna say bye right now, and then we're gonna do the game because I'm gonna inject the game like somewhere in the middle. It's just a quick fire thing. Okay. So I don't want to say thank you again. You say something. Say bye.
I will. So those are the places that you can reach us. Please take advantage of of any financial education that you can get your hands on. Sign up for free podcasts, or get on, what's that new place called? What is it called? Where you listen to people?
Clubhouse.
Get on Clubhouse. There's great financial conversations happening there. Start feeding your financial literacy. So again, Candis, thank you for giving us the space to encourage people to improve their financial literacy. Thanks for joining us on the Money Script podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at the Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The Money Script nor Money Script Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.